Welcome back to WBF Adventures. I'm Kramer.
And I'm Haley.
So this morning we are headed to the hills of eastern Kentucky to Haley's family's farm. We need to put out some hay, and I think we're going to watch the University of Kentucky game with them and just spend some time there this morning and early afternoon. And while we're on our way, we just kind of wanted to have a conversation about some things that we are learning as we begin to make these videos.
We are learning a lot.
Yes, we are. It's a steeper learning curve than we expected.
We are not super good with technology, but we are definitely not unfamiliar or bad at technology, so...
And Haley did some photography in the past, here and there, but we've had a lot to learn. We have the DJI mic minis, and we thought that they would be able to, both of them, Bluetooth to the camera so that each of us could wear a mic, but...
We thought wrong.
And then we thought that they both could hook up to the receiver for the mic set and that it would store the file. Also not correct.
We're just wrong a lot, it appears, with this.
So we're hopeful that we have a case ordered that will allow us to hardwire the receiver into the GoPro and then be able to use both mics, but we'll see how that goes. And then we tried to film yesterday, and not only were the mics not doing anything, but
we just were wasting battery power yesterday with our microphones.
The video was shaking as well on the camera, we realized somehow. So we reset it to factory settings this morning, and hopefully the video will be better. So we just want to be realistic. We want to be transparent as we walk through this process and learn about all that's involved. And I don't know about you, Haley, but it sure makes me appreciate those that put out good videos consistently.
Yes, it does. It is not easy, and it is not just a intuitive, like, let me just pick up a camera and buy some mics and slap it together kind of thing.
And it's not, it takes some thought to take the camera along with you for what you're doing and get it in the right position to be able to film what you want to capture. And so it's there's more to it than it appears when you watch your favorite creators' videos.
Yep, for sure.
But at the farm that we're headed to today, we have experimented a little bit this winter with maybe a little bit of a modified bale grazing system, you would call it. You want to talk a little bit about that, Haley?
Sure. So I came across a concept called bale grazing, I think when I was in college studying for my master's. I have a master's in sustainable agriculture, and so that is a practice that some beef producers use to better care for their land and animals, but still provide them forages during the winter months. And so the concept is it started out west that they put out all of their round bales of hay, or I guess you could do it with square bales. I haven't necessarily seen that, large squares. I haven't necessarily seen that, but they put all their bales out in the winter, or before winter, and then only give the cattle access to a certain number of bales per every 3 days, per week, per every 2 weeks, whatever their method is, so that they have free range access to forage like they would in a pasture, but this is just harvested forage. And it reduces wear and tear on your ground and reduces the number of times you're going in the field per week, per month on a tractor, and in one sense that really tears up your ground, especially in the hills where my family's farm is.
So from what I understand, from what you've seen, a lot of times they would have all of their hay set out for the season. They would move a temporary fence around on the land as the hay is consumed.
Correct.
And so as we were thinking about it, we thought that we might try kind of a modified version of that, where with you not being here on a day-to-day basis anymore, since you moved to Central Kentucky when we got married, you tried putting out 6 or 8 bales on a Saturday and seeing if it would last all week.
Pretty much, yep.
And it has. And actually, this past time, it almost lasted 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. My mom, who lives at the farm still, put out 1 roll this week, and not necessary, but wanted to make sure they had plenty to eat on.
So it's been successful for us, and we're hopeful that spreading the wear on the ground around a little bit will be helpful. We'll know more about that as we get closer to spring. We may have to knock down a little bit of the leftover forage that the cattle didn't eat where the bales were. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, so one of the problems I was really facing there was the amount of tearing up of the ground, for lack of a better word, that the cattle were doing, because we were using 2 to 3 hay rings to keep the cattle from kind of wasting any hay, was our thought process. A lot of people here in Kentucky use hay rings to feed, and they're not bad, and I'm not saying that at all, but they definitely, if you don't have a feeding pad or a designated area within your pasture that you're going to sacrifice, then they can make a big mess.
Definitely. You're going through it with the tractor to put the hay out. The cattle are standing around it all day eating, and the leftover hay is breaking down and getting wet and everything.
Yep.
And it becomes a mess quickly. And so we found pretty good success, we feel like, with this system so far. It allows the cattle to have hay throughout the week without her family having to deal with it after work, and it lets us go down every once a week or so and put out a good bit of hay for them. And so that's what we're going to do today.
And we haven't seemed to be using any more rolls per, every few weeks than we were in the past few years.
No, doesn't seem like it, which is good. So we've got about an hour drive or so, and so we're going to get down the road, and hopefully we will get back with you when we get there, and we can get some footage of Haley putting out some rolls today and see what else we get into.
We'll pick back up when we get there. This is the second, you could say, spot that we are bale grazing in. Let me talk to Grandma real quick. All right, I got 2 rolls. I think same place over there. Okay. I love you. Now, we have a dog in the way. Alright, down the road we go. This Montana tractor is a company that was in business for just a few years in the early 2000s. They were then acquired or purchased or changed their name to LS, which is still around today. In 2007, 2008, somewhere around in there. But it's been a pretty good tractor. I actually bought it off of a neighbor here who was selling it. One thing I don't like about it though is the way it's geared. It's pretty about the gear ratio. It has a high and a low, and then 1 through 4. It is a shuttle shift, which is nice. I'm used to a regular H pattern with a reverse gear. Let's see how bad that looks. Looks like it might be shaking pretty bad on the camera. Down, I think you can see up ahead we have 3 rolls that have been ate on pretty well and 1 roll that hasn't. These 4 rolls were part of what my mom put out yesterday. She put out a couple of them, and I think I'm going to put out somewhere between 6 or 8 today. See if we can make it last about 2 weeks again, and if my mom needs to come over and put out a couple, That'll be fine too. I'll be back. The other thing I like about this is the heat. It has a great heater. Take the parking brake off. Now, pick out where we're going to put a couple holes. See, the cattle do a pretty good job of cleaning most of it up. They'll end up cleaning these other spots that probably the hay wasn't quite as good. It may have had some iron weeds or just some tougher grass in it, but they do a pretty good job cleaning it up. I'll turn this way and you can see there is some, I would say, some waste. Most of that looks to be stemmy weeds, so I'm not too upset about that. Let's see here. I have to try to be careful about which way I place these rolls. They like to roll them into the fence line here on my left. Put one right there in the back, and then I'll come back over here after I get all of them out and take the strings off. Spot right here. Another thing that's kind of cool about bale grazing like this is that it's fine. Kind of gives you the ability to fill in spots when needed. I'm going to go check this roll out here. Some of these get a little tight. This one looks like it was a roll that had been outside, so they get a little tight. I have a hard time eating on it, so I'm gonna take and flip this one up. Real gently here. There it goes. And that hay should fall off, and I should be able to get on that one a little bit better. That one looks like it might have some iron weeds sticking out of the top a bit. Here in places they've really done a good job cleaning it up. Now this has only been 2 weeks that I have put out hay here, so they'll come back and finish cleaning up these little piles a little bit at a time. Over on the far side of the property of the pasture was the first place that we practiced bale grazing. That was our trial, and they seem to do really good about, even when I put out new hay or Mom would put out new hay, that they would finish cleaning up the rest of it over the weeks, which is good too. And it gives them something to lay in when it gets really cold. This was the first year that I hadn't rolled out hay across the field when we had really big snows here for Kentucky and cold temperatures for the calves and the cattle to have something to lay down and bed in. But they seem to keep that cleared off pretty good. The places that rolls them in, and they would just lay in bed in that as well. I think I am going to go up on the hill. We have a piece of farm that's up there at the top of the hill. This is in the valley. Go up there and get a couple of rolls. So I'll pick it back up with you here at the other farm. Change gears out of road gear. And we're going to pick up 2 rolls of hay to take down. half a roll left. What a pretty view out through there. These rolls are still pretty good even though they've been kept outside. We cut hay up here with someone who they get part of it, so part of theirs is still up here, but these rolls are still pretty good. This is first cut hay. But I'm pretty pleased with it. How it's lasted. We don't have any livestock up here. This is just hay ground. As we were talking earlier on the drive here, I haven't ever really seen people do bale grazing here in this part of Kentucky, or really ever at all, but it seems to be doing pretty well for us. Not only do I like the flexibility that it gives me and us here, and not having to be here every couple days to put out hay or have someone else do it. But I also think there's a lot of benefits to bale grazing. Before, we would put out 2 or 3 rolls at a time, and these rolls would last them, 2, 3, 4 days. When we would go back out to feed, the cattle would bawl and would be real excited to be getting hay as if they were hungry, which they probably thought they were. But I will say that this has definitely not been the case since we started this bale grazing. After about a couple weeks, they either seem to know that they're going to have access to all the hay that they want and they're not going to have to stand around a ring to fight for it, or that they're eating enough or a little bit more and not gorging themselves. So not only do I think I'm saving hay, but the cattle are in good body condition and it keeps from tearing the field up. Today it's fairly damp and you can already see my tracks here, a couple trips in and out. It would get really bad going in and out the main gate where I would go in and out to feed hay in previous years. I think this has made a huge difference in that, and yes, I'm going to make a couple marks in the field, in the hay field coming across here, but at most they're 2 or 3 inches deep, and they're not ruts, they're just tire tracks, and they'll work themselves out over the summer. And nobody will even be able to tell it when we're cutting hay here. But the cows, as you saw, had no interest in me or being at the hay. So we're going to go back and get 2 more. So one of the other things I want to say about this is we will be sure to continue to give updates about how this bale grazing is going, what is working, what isn't working, what we might change, what we like, what we don't like. But I will say part of the purpose of this is to spread out the wear and extra nutrients that this hay is going to return to the ground that isn't ate over the course of the spring. And so we will be sure to give updates about how that's working and if the grass is growing through it like we expect it to or not. I think I'm going to go right over here. Put one, make sure it's facing uphill. So one thing I'm going to show you here real quick is this writing on my glass. Now I'm a teacher, and so expo markers are always available in my brain to be able to use for things, and so I bought some expo markers, and it has been wonderful to be able to write on these expo markers with these expo markers on the glass. So this is where I'm keeping count of this second spot of feeding, how many rolls of hay we've used, and this was some hay numbers from the summer. But it's a great way. It doesn't get in your vision field very much as long as you don't put too much writing on it, and it's a great way for me to be able to keep track of what's going on.
We're here with Mr. Talon again to wrap this video up. So as you may have noticed listening to the clip, our microphones were still not working like we thought. We can't even Bluetooth one microphone to our camera because we've finally learned it does not have the processor to be able to connect anything to it because it's not the GoPro Creator Edition.
We're just learning all kinds of things.
So either we've just been that clueless, or it seems to us that maybe it's not that clear that you have to have the Creator Edition in order to do basically anything extra with it besides the built-in mic. But we now have the media mod, so we think that we'll be good to go going forward.
We're going to try that out here in a little bit.
So hopefully on our next video, you will have better audio from both of us. And we look forward to that. We look forward to whatever adventure we are able to share with you next time. We want to sincerely thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy these videos, we would really appreciate it if you would give it a like and subscribe and consider sharing it with anyone that you think would also enjoy it.
Thanks for joining us on this adventure with a purpose, where we strive to glorify God, do His work, and encourage others. See you later.
See you next time.